The Far Out Apple event just wrapped up, and there are some cool things that is worth talking about, and better yet, it's worth buying. So there are really like 3 key things that were announced that is really exciting. The first, of course, is the Apple 14, Apple 14 Plus, and Apple 14 Pro Max. Those are just the iPhone. The second category is, of course, we got some interesting new Apple Watches. One in particular that is more interesting is the Apple Watch Ultra. And then the third thing, we have a new AirPod Pro, which is amazing. But we're gonna really focus on the 2 things, the new iPhones and the new Apple Watch today. There's really a few things that it's like really exciting to me, and I was actually really happy to know that they actually delivered. The first thing on the iPhone 14 and the Pro model, having the satellite feature for emergency call was an amazing announcement, because one thing that I am super drawn to Apple products in general is their safety features. I think about just any product that is really designed for you to bring with you every day, like your phone, like your watch, and has the potential to save your life. I mean, I think that's huge. And yes, the price tag is big. And I remember even just talking to my friend earlier today, I was like, you know, almost $1,000, that's a lot of money. And I don't know, is that really worth it? And I was talking to myself about it more, and I'm like, well, I spend money on things that sometimes are more trivial. Like I spend a good amount of money on skincare, for example, and that does not save my life. So to me, I think for everyone it's different, but in my opinion, for money that if you could afford it and you're able to benefit from it, whether if it's productivity or whatever, and on top of that, there's a possibility where it could save your life. I don't know, I think it's super worth it. I think it's great, because you never know when you'll need it, and when you do need it, you'll be super thankful that you have it. And I mean, just look around the world right now, I think it happened at this point. So just by you having something within reach that you likely will have it with you for the most part and have the potential to save your life, I think it's great. So for those who have not heard, this satellite emergency SOS feature, essentially you are able to be anywhere in the world as long as you have a very clear skied view. If you're like stuck in the woods, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere essentially, or maybe even within the city, if you experienced a natural disaster and you have a clear skied view, Wi-Fi connectivity or electricity or cellular, like basically your phone just doesn't work, you could actually activate this feature and connect through satellite. You point your phone, your iPhone actually tells you where to point it towards, so it could actually connect to satellite, and from there you could make a quick text to Emergency SOS to come and find you and get you, and it will share your precise location with them, which I think is quite fantastic. Actually, that was one of the biggest feature I was researching to see if they will actually announce this or make this happen this fall event, and they did, and I was actually really excited. And I heard about the Apple one first, but some of you might have also heard T-Mobile and Starlink is also doing a partnership. It's going to be delivered next year, where all the phones that T-Mobile has in some of their most popular plans is going to cover satellite connectivity, where basically minimize any type of dead spot in the world, and so you will always have cell connection in one way or another. Of course, if you're in a complete dead spot, you might not be able to like stream YouTube or watch video and use a lot of bandwidth or anything like that, but at the minimum you could at least send a quick text, make a quick phone call. And T-Mobile have announced that they're planning to actually include this for free in most of their popular T-Mobile plan, and they're partnering with Starlink to do this. Of course, in the future, I'm sure Starlink's gonna actually have this available for all carrier, which is amazing. And I'm just thinking this is really just the beginning of what phones and connectivity and getting connection everywhere you go, regardless of natural disaster, if you're stuck somewhere, just minimizing the risk of people essentially not be able to get the help that they need because they don't have Wi-Fi or cell connectivity, which I think is amazing. It is amazing because you look around the world, there's flooding that happens, building collapsing, and earthquakes where you basically are stuck at where you are, sometimes up to months or weeks at a time. And this feature could really save your life, making sure that people could come and discover you and find you and come get you. That's something like that has just been top of mind for me when it comes to safety and how to make sure that in the worst case scenario where your phone's not working, nothing's everything's working and people cannot hear you or find you, like how do you get the help that you need? I think a feature like this, just being able to have it in your pocket, it's amazing. It is so amazing. Like I have an iPhone 12 right now, and just knowing that this feature will exist really is persuading me to buy a new iPhone. Yes, I'm planning to. So now the question is like, which one to buy? Do you want to buy the iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Plus, the Pro, or the Pro Max? I've been debating about this because the one phone that I have right now is the iPhone 12, which is the normal size iPhone 12, nothing, no biggie, and I love it. I could do whatever I need to do on it, and to me it's just like, oh well, the additional add from the iPhone 14, if I were to upgrade that, to be honest, the only two biggest difference that I could, well, three biggest difference that I could narrow down to, number one is the satellite connectivity, because the iPhone 12 does not have that. The second thing is crash detection, which iPhone 12 and 13 doesn't have that, which is very unique, and I think it's, again, very helpful feature. But for whatever reason, I actually thought the fall detection would somehow cover crash detection, because you know, it kind of able to sense that there's some sort of hard fall or something. I thought they're both gonna work, but maybe not. So crash detection will be something new if I were to go with the iPhone 14. And the other third thing, the new thing that they rolled out that I thought is really also cool, is motion action. It's being able to like work like a gimbal. You could run around, do crazy things while you record a video, and it's gonna look super stabilized, which that is pretty cool. Because to be honest, sometimes I feel like I don't really go out and use my iPhone to record video, because most of the time I'm walking. Like I could be in a grocery store and I want to like actually record the things that I'm buying, and I'm walking and I could actually see the footage is not very stabilized. You could so tell that I'm walking, and I don't know, I just don't like it. So it just makes me don't want to film in my iPhone. But now with this new feature, and it looks amazing, it actually makes me want to use my phone more to record. So I think that is a really cool feature. But honestly, aside from those three, the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 12 is just not that big of a difference. Where I thought about it more, I was like, okay, I don't know if it's really worth it then to switch, because as we know, iPhones come out new stuff every year, and you just, if you can, right, you want to stay up to date with the features and things. Now, then that brings me to considering either iPhone 14 Plus or iPhone 14 Pro. Now, iPhone 14 Plus, I do think is a good deal, because this year is the kind of like the first year where without being the Pro model, you could actually get the bigger size of the iPhone, which is quite cool. You just basically pay one extra $100 and you get the 4.7-inch bigger screen for the 14 Plus. And they also say that that's going to have one of the biggest battery life for iPhones, which is also amazing. For $100 more, you have a bigger screen, which most people actually do like that, and they have a bigger battery life. I think for me, there's a part of me that's a little bit hesitant to want to get the iPhone 14 Plus or just the bigger size in general, because number one, my hand is super small. I'm a Petite Tech Reviewer, and so what that means is that holding this phone, this is by the way the iPhone 12 regular size, 4.1 inch or something height wise, and it's already like quite big for me. So when I actually hold on to the bigger size iPhone, it's just, I don't know, I just feel like I'm gonna drop it. It's just not something super convenient, and for me, phone is all about convenience. Like I want to bring it with me all the time, have it on my hand when I'm traveling, when I'm on public transportation, and I don't want to feel like I'm gonna drop it or it's an inconvenient for me. So this is a little bit more of like a personal choice, and honestly, if I have bigger hands or it doesn't feel that big on me, I actually would prefer a bigger screen. But for me, the regular smaller size works perfectly. So now that brings me to the thinking about the 14 Pro. Now 14 Pro obviously have all of the features of the iPhone 14 with more stuff, and one of the big thing that everyone is talking about for the iPhone 14 Pro is the dynamic island. I actually think the name is not bad, because it is something that's super dynamic and it looks kind of like a little island. So I guess that's how they came up with the name. I know everyone's like think the name drive them crazy, but at first when I first saw the animation and everything happening in the event, I actually was not super impressed. I was like, I mean, like, yeah, it's cool, it's creative, but do I really need that? To me, it just reminds me of the regular notification bubble that happens when you get like a new text and things like that. It just shows up at the very top and it goes away. But then I thought about it more. I thought about it more of like me using the iPhone as long as I have, which I have for like the last decades. And you know what? There are certain pain points that I feel like this new rollout of 14 Pro is actually addressing. In particular, here's the new stuff that's exclusively on the Pro that doesn't even exist on iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Plus that actually actually, now I thought about it more, it is worthwhile in upgrading to that, and here's why. So for the dynamic island, it is pretty much right now, the example that it uses is when you, for example, you are using your maps and you're trying to get around, and you can actually flip back to your main screen or any other app, and you can still see your maps information at the very top, and you tab it, it would just expand and show you more of your direction. So you don't even need to flip back and forth into the Maps app, and you could basically be back at your home page or your home screen or any other app. And I realized I like that because every time I have Maps open in my iPhone, I always feel like, oh my god, I'm stuck in this page, because whenever I flip anywhere else, the whole entire map just disappears. And when I know that I'm close to an exit, like less than a mile away, I'm like, okay, I really need the map screen to open back up. I have to like click back to the little blue button in the corner and open the whole thing back up. And it's just, this back and forth is not that convenient. And I could see how having the map instruction in the dynamic island, where I could see at a high level if I want to tap it and see a little bit bigger screen, but still again doesn't take up the entire screen on the iPhones, actually could be super helpful. And of course, another popular example that this could be super helpful for is when you're listening to your music. That's another case that I realized I toggle back and forth a lot with my current iPhone, and I don't like it. And sometimes I put it in the widget in my home screen right now for my music, and yeah, this back and forth again and having to search my music app just isn't that convenient. And I could really see how this dynamic island design will be super helpful for that. And of course, you're trying to get an Uber, Lyft, or whatever, it shows you actually how far it is while you're doing everything else, which is amazing, because come on, we all know when you're waiting for your Lyft, you're waiting for your Uber, you are on your phone doing some other stuff, and you always have to go back and forth to really check how far your driver is so that you don't miss it. So this is actually a really great feature. Alarm, countdown, things like that will be perfect as well. So I can actually then start seeing more and envisioning myself, yeah, you know what, I would find this really helpful. So on top of the dynamic island design, another thing that I think it's actually a really, and this is where it really entices me, because I have been stopping myself to get a new iPhone until something like more either design change or something that's like more major change happens to make it really worth it. And always on display, I think is actually pretty cool, because as we all know, all of the iPhones that we have previously just does not have always on display, even though we have it on the watch already and everything. So we have been expecting this for a while, but now having it formally on the 14 Pro, actually I think is pretty cool, because I realize I also do not like always having to tap my phone in order to see the time and in order to see any type of notification. It's just, I don't know, annoying sometimes. I could be holding the damn thing all the time. I've been just like tapping the damn thing all the goddamn time. And even when I'm working sometimes, I will have my phone in front of me standing on a stand, and again, I have to like tap it in order to really see the time or the notification, which just gets a little bit annoying sometimes. So I think yes, it's totally time to have the always on display on the new iPhone 14 Pro. Another thing, of course, and that I also really like on top of this screen is brighter display in the phone, because I realized when they announced this 14 Pro, everything that they announced, I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, but it didn't wow me until I think again, because I was really actually going to get the 14 Plus or the 14, because I was more a fangirl in the satellite connection and the crash detection and the motion action. Those stuff, it's already there. I'm like, okay, I don't really need anything else. But I thought about it more. I realized that a lot of the new stuff that 14 Pro is releasing really solve some of the annoyance that I have been experiencing on the iPhone in general for the longest time. iPhone 14 is also rolling out a brighter display, and I realized very often, especially in the morning, when the bright morning, and I'm putting my phone brightness to the highest, and I'm still like, dude, it's not that very bright. It's still very dim. I could barely see my stuff. Sometimes I just wait until I'm indoor again to like look at my phone, and I always wish that my iPhone will be much brighter. And this 14 Pro is also releasing like this super bright display that you could make your display so much brighter so you can see better under the sun, which is amazing. Again, I'm like, oh wow, it's also again solving another day-to-day kind of use of iPhone that I have always kind of find annoying, which is amazing. And then of course, on top of all of those kind of like daily annoyance fixes that they're rolling on iPhone 14 Pro, of course it comes with a better battery. Honestly, when they have all of these numbers and pixel of the battery, I don't really know like what it means when it comes to like what type of outcome do I expect. Like, does this mean that if I were or to film a photo with my family. Like, what does that mean for me? Like, from a more of a everyday user perspective, because I'm not filming a movie all the time, but I know that I have the interest in filming more videos and filming all of this stuff, but I don't really know what it means to have like a 48 megapixel something versus another. So I would love for them to translate sometimes a lot of their tech language more of like, what does that really mean in comparison to something in real life that's more everyday usable as an everyday user. And that's what honestly I miss Steve Jobs for that, because I thought he was really good in not focus so much in the specs, but talks more about how that convert to more of like everyday usage or everyday things that we could compare it with. Like when Steve Jobs talked about how thin one of the first MacBook Air was, he compared it in like an envelope, right? Like a actual envelope that you could put the MacBook Air in to show you how thin it is, instead of tell you like, oh, it's 1 centimeter diameter. You know, like it wasn't so much focused on the numbers, but more of like showing you like a story and analogy and things that you could actually relate and understand and put perspective. So I really like that. But anyway, so better video camera, 100%, better zoom, better pixel, all of that yada yada yada, great stuff. It's also part of the 14 Pro, of course, but honestly, that's not the thing that really, you know, sold me. The stuff that really sold me, more of like the everyday annoyance things that I realized that have been annoying me for a while, that finally is getting solved in the iPhone 14 Pro, like the display, always on display, better, brighter display, dynamic island, and all of that good stuff. Okay, so those are the iPhone stuff. And again, I've been like looking at both the iPhone 14, 14 Plus, and the Pro, and just comparing like which one I should get, and I have decided that I'm gonna get the 14 Pro. Not the Pro Max, just the Pro again. Just a personal preference. I like smaller phones so I could hold it and use it more often, because the more I'm able to take it with me and hold it easily, the more I will use it. So that's iPhone. Now, Apple Watch. Apple Watch is like another exciting thing that they released. I'm actually not super excited about the Series 8 and the SE. The most exciting one is the Ultra, which looks crazy big. And y'all, if y'all know me, I am again like a petite. Like this is a Fitbit, super tiny Fitbit Lux that I have, because again my wrist is 4-inch something like that. It's like crazy thin, and I got this because it's thinner than an Apple Watch. But I've been just so waiting for an Apple Watch that I could buy, and of course Ultra, you know, like that's just bulky and big. However, because of the feature just sounds so amazing, I've been contemplating like, maybe I don't care that it looks bulky and big or whatever, as long as it's useful and it could save your life and all of that. Again, going back to saving your life, I love, you know, the idea of that. And again, Ultra is something that I don't deserve at all, because I'm not an outdoorsy person. I don't go do the active things that it is really meant for. I'm not the target audience for Ultra for sure, but there's things on there that I do really appreciate, really like. In particular, there is a siren feature on the Ultra that really is speaking to me for some reason. And again, it's part of the safety reasons why I like it. So in the Apple Watch Ultra, they have expanded their speaker. So both ways, you could actually talk on the phone a lot more clearer. You could hear the person that you're talking to a lot more clearer. And also as part of that, they added a siren safety feature in the Ultra, where you could actually have an easy button to click it, and it could like actually have a really loud noise siren to get help, right? So if you're stuck in the forest and you fell in a mountain or something and you scream, nobody could hear you, you need to make a lot of noise, hopefully that someone nearby could find you and help you. This siren could do just that. But you also think about the real life situation where, let's say, you know, you're going to your car dark in the parking lot late at night and you're by yourself and you're scared and you're like, oh shit, like what if something happens? It's funny, like you could technically, I was watching another YouTuber talking about this, and they're like, yeah, this is almost like a siren pepper spray, right? Like as soon as somebody attacks you or robs you or something, like you put this thing on and hopefully it will scare them away. So I've actually thought like, yeah, that's actually a great idea. You know, like you basically, instead of screaming or whatever, in case some really bad shit happens, you at least is able to try to get attention from people around you to hopefully help you and save you. So that's a really cool feature in the Siren. Another thing that's really cool for the Ultra is that there's also an action button that you could customize. I think one thing with the Apple Watch sometimes it is annoying is that you have to like go in and do a lot. There's a lot of stuff which is great, but to get things done, like to always have to go in and press things, sometimes it's just, I don't know, it gets whatever sometimes. So having an action button on the side you could just customize, amazing, great. Second thing that's really cool for Ultra is the more precise GPS. They're saying that it could actually really more precisely locate where you are with the new GPS, which is amazing. And then the sad part is that it doesn't have satellite calling in the Ultra, which I guess it is what it is, but it comes with cellular. The other thing is this big digital crown, which is again, if you're like out there doing sports, it's easier for you to toggle, which is cool. But overall, the biggest, I think, benefit too of the Ultra is the battery life. Now on just one charge, you get 36 hours in normal use, which is amazing. Anything more than 1 day, basically for Apple right now, is a huge improvement. And later on, they're rolling out this low power mode where you could actually toggle your Ultra to last up to 60 hours if you need to, especially if you're out there in the wild, you're stuck somewhere. That is amazing. So the battery life on its own and the Siren, that's what's getting me. And I think I'm gonna get it for my brother. That's that. But I think this year's Apple event is actually quite exciting. It suppresses my expectation for whatever reason, because I was not expecting much, because the last few years of Apple event just has been kind of same-ish type of releases. So I'm actually really glad this year there's actually some surprises that I was not expecting. So yeah, my choice is the iPhone 14 Pro and getting an Ultra for my family member. I'm curious to know, are you guys curious on, checking these things out? Are you also thinking about getting one for yourself? If so, which product are you considering? Are you debating, trading in, whatever? Like, tell me what you guys are most curious about and I want to hear from you. All right, talk to you guys next time. Bye.